Feels like forever since we talked about the finances of Barcelona, when we went through a phase of talking about them every week.
Yeah.
Because it was the most interesting thing happening in football. But
Let's do it again.
let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked at the time about leveraging your future against results, basically. And the problem is that there's a very possible world out there where Barcelona perform exactly the same this season as they did last season, having spent all of this money that they didn't really have. And it means that they'll be in the same situation next summer with less things to leverage.
Yeah. So what will happen? I mean, would it be bad?
Yeah, I mean, as time goes by, you obviously have to start that these debts will start being called in. I think one of the biggest issues is that they owe their footballers a lot of money.
Right.
And as each season goes on, the added revenue that you should be getting through being the best team in the world, per their arguments, is not going to come in. And so you're spending like 40-50 million pounds on a player just to keep them at the club.
Troubling.
And you're not seeing any sort of upside from it. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not great. And you were in a league with Real Madrid, and this game I think was very much indicative of the problems of spending big to try and beat Real, because Barcelona
Hasn't worked for City or PSG.
No, exactly, and Barcelona are playing that style of positional football that, you know, over the course of a season will give you the best underlying numbers, but it doesn't always win you titles or Champions Leagues. And that's the problem with Real Madrid have come. They've scored 3 goals from very low chances. Barcelona have played fine, but they've still ended up losing.
The second goal is a work of art. Like, it's one of my favourite goals all season, I think, just in terms of the decisions made by Vinicius, the role by Tchouaméni.
This is the Valverde goal.
Valverde. It's like it's
Link playing the final third is lovely.
If you didn't watch the game and you just wanted to know the story of it from a single 30-second period, just watch that, because you see this perfectly choreographed attacking move with players who understand where their teammates are going to be, when to release the ball, and where the spaces and the vulnerabilities are in their opponent, versus a team who are expending a lot of energy and effort trying to cover space, but they don't really understand where the threat is coming from next. So it's reactive, reactionary football. And it's just a beautifully worked goal. It's very, very pure football from an attacking sense. Can I build on something, the finance thing? The finance thing. I was reading Dermot Corrigan's article in the Athletics. I can't speak at all. It's like my tongue is too big. In the Athletic this morning. And one of the lines that stuck with me was that Barcelona still owe money for the transfers of Philip Coutinho, Miralem Pjanic, and the goalkeeper Neto. Maybe Torres too, but it wasn't included in Dermot's example. They still owe 100 million euros, and that is due to be paid within the next 7 months. That is mind-bending and very frightening.
The big problem with them is that because they're trying to compete right now, so they can build revenue, so they can get back to a safe place. Right? They need to be big now, because then in a few years it means they're going to have the ability to be able to compete. But what they've done is sign players that have made them, like, if it was a FIFA rating, like 1 better. Like Marcus Alonso's not going to make you better. He's not playing there. Koundé's a good signing. That's fair enough. Kessie's a good squad signing, stuff like that. But if you want to build and really go for something in the future, you've got Piqué and Busquets who are they're coming to the end of their careers. So you use them to, like you would James Milner or Gareth Barry. Maybe. You use them so you're bringing through the next group of players. And the next group of players, they had Nico can play as that 6. He's gone on loan with them somewhere, I think.
He's at Valencia.
Valencia. You've got Xavi and Pedri. That's your midfield you build around. And you accept that you're going to lose a little bit in the league, maybe. I think were they top before this? I'm not sure.
On goal difference. Yeah.
They had a really good... they were defending really well if you look at the actual games, but Ter Stegen is keeping them in games. What I'm trying to say is that they're overperforming defensively. Ter Stegen's keeping them in games. So if they're really trying to build something like the way we've seen teams like Liverpool, Man City transform and become something else, you don't have the same money. They want to be focusing on those players. Like you've got Raphinha.
They want to take their time about it as well, right? Isn't that what Xavi as a coach? That it all makes sense.
Then Guardiola came in back in the day and made them amazing, and then just had that core and made them really good. It was Rijkaard that was taking a lot of the players in to make them good in the first place. But Messi wasn't starting under Rijkaard every single week, as far as I remember. It was the bit of a change in people, because then Guardiola came in and away went Ronaldinho, and they had the new generation came through. And that's when it really became special, because over time, and he started badly, but they got really good very quickly. So now the worry is that they don't think Xavi's maybe quite there. He's not got a very good record so far with them, but they are building, trying to make the squad stronger now so they can compete right now. But actually, it's the future. They're going to be better. And then what you've got now is La Liga teams might go on strike because what seems to be, I can say, at the forefront of certain Spanish clubs' minds is having the Super League happen, because that's the way you can compete financially with the Premier League, because it's like dominating everything. So you cannot compete. If you're trying to compete by signing Lewandowski up to at least 37 on a massive contract, it's dangerous.
But this is the problem, though. Like you have the situation, firstly, where Barcelona acknowledge they still need to get a lot of players off their wage bill. Okay, so there's a quote from someone within the organisation, financial director of some kind, last week, who said that we expect this situation to be normalised by about 24-25 that season. You're thinking, okay, that's cool because Piqué is this age and Busquets and et cetera, Jordi Alba. But then you're also, what that calculation doesn't factor in is that Pedri, Xavi, Ansu Fati, these players will be coming up for renewal.
Yeah.
And they're coming up for renewal in a football world in which Barcelona no longer have financial primacy.
No.
And also, Jojo's right, if your energy is expended on advocating for a Super League because you no longer feel you're able to compete, I don't understand the tactic of then trying to compete in the transfer market with a very similar approach, which can be bettered by Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City, arguably Bayern Munich, because they're a better run club, Chelsea, maybe even Arsenal at the moment. They seem to be sort of more financially stable. So Manchester United, there's just a lot of contradictions in it. And
I just want to clue in listeners to something you referred to just there, and that is that, as written by Dermot Corrigan, La Liga clubs are exploring the possibility of strike action within 14 sides, as well as League President Javier Tebas due to meet Spain's the sports minister on Monday to discuss the ongoing threat of the European Super League. So this is the context behind which you speak, Seb.
Yeah, by acknowledging the need for a Super League, you are saying we no longer really have confidence in our ability to compete. So then you spend the summer trying to compete and digging a hole for yourself in 2 or 3 years when you're not quite out of your current hole. We don't need to revisit kind of the politics and the kind of the issues with Barcelona's financial expenditure, but it just doesn't make sense. And it's also, you are settling for something which can never be quite as good as all those teams above you. You can have Robert Lewandowski, but you can only have him at the end of his career. You can maybe have a Pedri and a Xavi, but you have him at the beginning of their career before you potentially expose yourself again to kind of the financial might of those clubs that you're raging against with your Super League ideas. So it is this vicious circle, a virtuous circle of, advertising revenue and performance and winning and trophies that Joan Laporta imagines. It's a growing problem. And the need for a different approach, the need for a reliance on something other than the transfer market has never been more obvious, in my opinion.
Well, in that regard, continuing with Dermot's piece, he says, back when the Super League was originally announced, both the governing PSOE party and the main opposition party in Spain were strongly against the idea. But in recent weeks, they've both removed their complaints about the Super League amid ongoing political lobbying regarding the project, which is also currently the subject of a competition law case brought by the 3 rebel clubs that are presumably trying to say that, to stop this from happening is a breach of is a monopoly, it's a breach of competitive.
When that noise that gets made when someone drags a nail down a blackboard, and it's actually abhorrent. You can't listen to it. Like when someone says Super League, it has the same effect on me now. Like I can no longer listen. I can no longer engage with it. Like the kind of the wrangling you away for. Yeah, it's like it's just or it's like a really really loud alarm that just it doesn't distract me.
We have those here.
Yes, we do. We also have really, really loud drilling, which is great.
Well, let's move on then. If it's given you that feeling, then I wonder if it's giving the listener at home the very same feeling.
Yeah.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.